We are go for liftoff in T minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
It's a low blog talk radio.
I'm going to take you to Starbucks with me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well,
let me
fucking wake up. Come.
Before you start, let me begin by saying, welcome to another. This is one of those things that happen whenever I'm talking to you. I don't know where it's gonna be. I don't know where you're gonna be. I know where I'm at. I'm in the valley right now. So welcome to my little studio for today. And I'm talking to, of course, Jonathan Tipton Meyers. He's a performer, a great writer, performer. Your show, We Are Traffic, has literally changed my life. I'll just leave it at that for now. But welcome to the show.
No, just leave it at that. Huh? Changed my life. It changed my life.
Well, I'll have to expand on it. When I saw your show back in 2018, right?
Yeah.
So I saw your show and I sat on the audience, and it was like I was sitting in the back seat of your car, kind of like what you're doing right now. I'm actually in your car today, and
yes, you are. We're going to Starbucks.
We're going to Starbucks. What are you getting?
You know what? I had a little coffee before, so I need some tea. I just need something warm in my body.
Speaking
the
of
sun
Starbucks,
is already blaring in this car.
I don't know if you can see this. I have a Starbucks cup, but this cup is invisible.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh,
I don't know if they'll accept that. I don't know if they'll accept that as a refill, but we'll try. We'll try to see what we get.
Here's my invisible cup. Anyhow, we're here today because you actually have made it from Hollywood all the way to Edinburgh, right?
Absolutely, Edinburgh, Scotland, where I'm literally performing right now while we speak.
Are we on? Are we? Okay, I'm not.
Yeah,
now I'm nervous.
the truth is that the Fringe, because of COVID, the Fringe was predominantly virtual. I was really disappointed because I was looking forward to going to Scotland for the first time. It's the largest theater festival in the world. I've thought about it for years. And I was tremendously disappointed initially because I couldn't get to go. But when I found out that they had a virtual platform, we just shot the show, and it turns out to have been a gigantic blessing aside from COVID, because we get to share the show with the entire world and anyone who can log on to the Edinburgh website. And not only is that great for folks that I know around the world, but the truth is it's the revolution, it's the future of theater. And, theater was taken away from us probably within the last decade. It's supposed to be the place where the poor and working class go to get to scream and make fun of the rich. And it's been priced out for only the rich. So the fact that now people can go online, and I think it's going to be growing by the day, and see theater again is going to re-energize and revitalize theater and make it very clear of why it's as primary as going to the doctor.
Exactly. Yeah, I was saying one time it should be, what do you call it, when it's like the essentials, one of the essential jobs. And theater
it literally is. Yeah.
Theater is so essential. I mean, I'm only speaking from, for myself, but theater is a life force. It has to be cultivated.
It's not even an opinion. Yeah, it's not even an opinion of yours. It's very clear. I was reading an article the other day where they're talking about automation and how we had underestimated the scope of automation, especially people in the white collar class and executive class who really didn't think it was going to affect them. But the truth of the matter is it's already moved up the ladder, where law firms are getting rid of partnerships, and schools are getting rid of tenure. And someone was interviewing an engineer, and they said, "What field is going to be untouched by automation?" And ironically enough, this little engineer says, "Well, it's going to be the creative arts where they can't really replicate things." And I just started laughing because I just, the millions of parents who tell their kids, "Sure, you can do that, but get something safe. Get an insurance policy for yourself, like become an accountant," which will literally be the #1 job replaced by automation.
Well, speaking of things that people say whenever I'm doing, because the reason I'm saying that you changed my life is because ever since I saw your show, I consider being a Lyft driver, and that's what I'm doing now. But one of the questions that always gets me a little. It used to get me upset, but now it's interesting where people are coming from, because now they see how essential we are as drivers, and how long they have to wait, how long they have to wait for, because they get cancellations and they get people, they don't want to pick them up. And so when they finally pick them up, some of them ask, is this your full-time job? I used to be offended by that question, as if it wasn't good enough that I'm picking you up and I'm doing all this, I'm playing music for you. I'm making it comfortable for you. I used to give you water, not anymore. But there's a sanitizer in the back now. And I'm being safe. I'm following the guidelines of the city, and I'm getting around some people. And because I have a mini, I can squeeze into any little places to get through to your destination. But now the question has changed into, wow, thank you for picking me up. I appreciate you coming to pick me up.
You remember what I said, right? You can always tell an old school passenger, because those were the two things that people said when they got in the car. The first one was literally, "Thank you so much for picking me up," as if it was a script that everybody had memorized. And the other one was, "I can't believe how cheap this is, and it's more expensive than it is today."
Yeah. But people understand. It's like, somebody told me, I think 2 days ago, it's like, I understand. I mean, you guys are doing, your maintenance, your wear and tear in your car, your time is valuable. And I'm like, whoa, this is coming from a passenger. Okay.
I have to say, I was away from driving for about 2 years, and I had kind of moved on to writing. And I got back into this to kind of promote the show, and they were really enticing some drivers to come out. And one of the nice surprises is how the emotions have kind of returned to the beginning, and people have been a lot more respectful, and it's really nice. It's not, it's just all part of training. I was really, really, really floored by it, and it's nice. It doesn't mean that anything's solved by any stretch of the imagination. It just means that people are now pushed to the brink, so they have to recognize, and so they're in a weaker position. I'm expecting that will evolve into sincere gratitude and appreciation, but as a culture, we're still going to have to crash first. But it's a nice start.
Right. So tell me about the show. I saw the show in 3 years ago now. So how has it?
Oh God, we have to add it. We have to add a year to every experience in our life, right? I'm driving down the street, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I was just at that restaurant." I was, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I was reading your blog of all things today, and I was like, "Oh, that was 2014, and how things have changed,
huh?
And since we spoke last time too, it's changed a lot too. There's a change on any level, especially now with the pandemic and having to wear the mask and having to enforce people to wear the mask, even if they agree or not agree. And
exactly.
Don't you get that question every day? It's like, do I have to wear a mask? Some of them have asked me, it's like, do I have to wear a mask? It's like, well, do we have to get in the car and do we have to get to your destination?
Oh my God, look at Victor, look, it's a new Victor.
I don't know.
You remember back in the beginning, I tell you, it's a zero tolerance. Once you establish a relationship in the beginning, everybody's like, "Thank you very much, Dad. Thanks for taking care of me." Yeah. I was doing it last night. I was really embracing it and having a good time with it. And everybody else was too, because they're like, "Oh, wow, this person who's driving me somewhere is taking care of me." And it's just human respect. It's, a lot of people have been kind of pushing me to to talk more about civics, which is something that I saw deteriorating over the last 5 years. And it sounds crazy because I never in school, like I grew up in Manhattan, there were no civics classes. But it seems more and more like that's obviously what we need on a basic level. But in terms of the show, it's just, I was really concerned. We went into pandemic. I'm like, is this show relevant at all anymore? You know, there's bigger things going on, like what's up? And the truth is that we were on a breakup with each other for a year and a half. And when we stepped outside, we realized, oh, things kind of look normal, but they're not even close to being normal. And it became clear to me that it's actually more relevant now than it was before, because it's about isolation. It's about how we were all separated in this city. We didn't realize that in the effort to separate everybody by color through redlining and creating the freeway to keep everybody in their place, we ended up pushing everybody into cars. So all of a sudden now we're isolated by ourselves in these little boxes and end up separated from ourselves. It's literally kind of a mirror. Then the pandemic comes, and you know, it's like that game of chess on Star Trek. You know, it's like even 3 levels now. So so it feels a lot deeper, and it makes a lot more sense. And it's caused us to expand the show slightly to include a reference to a larger isolation, while really just focusing in on the main theme, which is that you know, we start off with a relationship with each other in goodwill, and through the course of it, we get to a point where we need couples therapy, and the question is, like, do we want to work on this larger relationship with each other?
Wow. Yeah, I was kind of joking when I said I've already seen your show twice, and I think it's always relevant to see where are you now? Where are we now after the pandemic and after everything with the world shut down, and of course Fringe, you know, when virtual, and it's a shame. I'm resistant to it. I'm so resistant to it because it's not the same experience.
They're I mean, look, they're just grasping to try to stay the vital, because the truth is that they had recreated theater in Los Angeles. It was as vital and as strong, and the writing was as good as anything going on in New York. And that was going to be their coming out year. Like, they're in national attention, and then we get a pandemic, and they kind of get backtracked to have to start from square one. But I tell you, from what I've seen in virtually this year, it's kind of incredible what they were able to do, even grasping at straws, because they stayed alive like everybody else. They stayed alive, and next year they're going to explode. I mean, I really recommend everybody trying to go see something virtual in this last weekend. They're going to have encores, because it just shows even more. It's an example of why this is vital, why theater is vital to our existence, because it makes us think and question our existence. And so God bless them. You know, I mean, literally the experience of having to put up a show is arduous and expensive, but when you put video cameras on top of it and streaming, it's almost impossible. But from that ambition, that reaching, it reiterates the importance of it in our daily lives. And so everybody should go check out Hollywood Fringe. I know I'm going to be hawking Edinburgh Fringe, but they're connected. They really are.
Right. So are you doing both? Well, I guess you can do the Hollywood Fringe.
No, I technically probably could have streamed, because when we realized we had the option to go virtual, we filmed a version of the show. So I could have streamed it, but no, I just wanted to focus on Edinburgh as well. Personally, I saw Fleabag, and I know Fleabag started at Edinburgh as a monologue, as a solo show, and I was so impressed. And
great show. I love the show.
Oh, amazing.
I can't wait for the next season. Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, they're done. I mean, you know, she wrapped it up pretty nicely. Yeah, pretty nicely. It's wrapped up. She said goodbye to the audience. She's not coming back. But I was really impressed and inspired by that. And I am inspired by the place where all this started. So, no, I wanted to focus on that and try to get as many eyeballs to that website, because I think their virtual platform has a chance to influence theater around the world. Really, the National Theatre of Britain was the only really big platform that was running now, and I bet you every regional theater is going to have one. And Hamilton was a great example of it. right? I mean, it didn't make people now want to go see it live. As a matter of fact, it made people want to go see it live even more.
Right. That's interesting. If it was you know how everything's on streaming now, you know, we have streaming services. So it would be interesting to have Hollywood Fringe on streaming services, or I don't know if they're doing it now, where you know they create
they're doing it. They're doing it now, but they're streaming live. I think what'll happen is there'll probably be a combination of live and recorded, but everybody should have that platform. It's not, you know, I don't know if you remember when Barnes and Noble came along and took over the book world. Before that, you would go into a bookstore and you get eyeballed by the guy. You'd be like, "Are you reading that? What are you doing? Why are you touching that? Like, if you want it, buy it." And then Barnes and Noble came along and said, "We've got big couches. Would you like to sit down and read it? Maybe you could read the whole book here if you wanted to," because they knew as soon as you started, you were taking that thing home. You owned it. It was a part of you. And it's the same concept with streaming. It's not going to keep people from going to theater. They can't go now. They can't afford it now. It's going to make people want to go see. And plus, it's a completely untapped audience. It just makes sense, you know?
Yeah, this is it's worldwide. You can see it from anywhere.
Yes, there were union regulations and things that will now get worked out now, but it was truly a backwards way of thinking in an old paradigm that thankfully is being broken as we speak. Okay.
So now let's talk about the tickets. How do people, because the shows are going to be playing, when are they going to be playing? How do people get your tickets?
The Fringe opened on August 6th and it's running until the 30th. So it's really just a week left. Everybody can go to tickets.edfringe.com. tickets.edfringe.com and search for whatever show you want. You should be searching for this one. It's called We Are Traffic, a Rideshare Adventure. It'll come right up and you can buy your ticket in pounds, 12 pounds, which I know,
I saw that.
$16, not a big deal. And then you can stream it there, along with 350 other shows. And that's a small Fringe. I mean, you know, ordinarily they have like about 3,000 shows. So it's super easy. And if anybody goes to see it, I want them to leave a review on that page as well. I'm kind of blown away with the response. It's really wonderful to see. I was concerned, you know, of course, it's a show about Los Angeles and we're going all the way overseas, but the idea that folks are responding to all of it, they don't need to know what Ralph's is as a supermarket to understand the general concept of it. And it's really wonderful to hear people talk about this experience about being universal, you know? So it's very cool. Yeah.
And people travel to LA, people travel to the States, and you know what I mean? Like you're gonna be found in a taxi or in an Uber and a Lyft eventually. So I guess everybody can relate in that sense.
No, without question, the one thing that's been universal is the thing is like, wow, I never thought about these things in the car, but I do have that experience. It is intimate. Right. You know, it is different than a taxi cab. And in the UK, you know, British cab drivers, London cabbies are probably the most knowledgeable people in the world. You're actually like a university professor. I've had cabbies in my car, and I don't know if you realize, but the examinations, the tests they have to go through, they have to know the entire city and the history of the entire city. They're fascinating people. And so they were really plagued in the beginning by Uber and Lyft, as they should be. I really had no sympathy for any other cab drivers in any other cities, other than the fact that they were being squeezed by their companies because there was no competition. But British cabbies, I have the utmost respect for them. They are fascinating people. And it's an example of what it's considered a full-time profession. And it's an example of how versatile the original drivers were when the pay scale was commensurate. You know, the original people with these pink mustaches driving around 10 years ago now, they were super interesting guys and women, you know, fascinating people. Remember, I don't know if you remember in the beginning, you'd be like, what is that car with that mustache on it? You know?
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
I mean, in San Francisco, people would go into Lyft lines, which is why they created it, on a Friday or Saturday night to meet other people.
You
know?
Yeah. I still have the what do you call it?
What?
Oh, I forget the name. The one that lights
mustache?
up.
Yeah.
Not the mustache, but the other. I forget what it's called, but now it's not
Oh
working.
yeah, okay. Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know,
they're
the
all.
one that
But I mean,
turns yellow and it turns pink and it turns
yes,
different
yes,
colors.
yes, yes.
And
I was
it
looking
greets the
for one.
customer. It greets the customer. They never notice it, but I notice it. I'm like, if I don't know their
They
spelling of their name, they say
Yeah,
their
they
name.
actually do. I mean, they actually do. There's a lot of people now because I know some old time guys have it. I have mine, but I'm missing a piece to it, and it's not like you can find those pieces anywhere. But I loved them.
Yeah,
They're
I
little
have an
beacons.
extra
They're
one.
beacons. That's what they were. The beacons.
Beacons. There you go. There you go. I have an extra one if you need one. By the way.
Okay. Oh no, I definitely need one. But before Lyft was the first one out, and they had little glowing pink mustaches. I still have one of those too.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
So what is one thing that you would say people will be surprised to see if they have seen your show before? What would it be surprised to see on your
an evolution out
updated version?
of the, like I said before, really a focus on the fact that we weren't always like this inherently as humans. You know, we were bred, we were born, we were created to be together, and that concept is it's just not profitable for the original group of people that established the country. So the secret isn't that we really all hate each other with with all the animosity that's going right now. The secret is actually, I know it's corny, that we love each other, but that's not a profitable economic strategy for the original group of people who formed the country and the rest of the world. And so, they fight against it. And that's what we're fighting against now. So it's a harder focus on that in general, but really how through each particular story, that feeling, kind of that realization builds up in me, my own realization of it, and slowly in terms of people who are watching the show. So there's not a lot of, we were concerned about, how to update the world, the show with the world, because we're literally, we look different now. I mean,
did you add the
we
mask?
literally look different, No, I didn't add the masks, at least for this iteration, because I just wasn't sure how that was literally going to fit. But the truth is, simply by putting it on, it's an example of how everything's changed. But there are references in the show. We have a big old reference, to Karen, because the truth is that this circumstance has all reduced us. We're all Karens, crying on the floor of Victoria's Secret, searching for our free pair of panties, and we don't want anybody to film us acting crazy and privileged. So we're all just trying to figure out, how to connect.
Right. Well, it's going to be interesting. So I have a question about the show. So you're saying that this is streaming anytime, or does it have to be a certain time?
24/7. It's 24/7 streaming on demand at tickets.edfringe.com. Cool. And literally, it's just you're buying a virtual ticket and you're watching it. And I think that's the future of theater for everybody who, there are generations that have never been to the theater, man, because it costs $150, $400 to go to see a show. That's a lot of people's rent. It's to see rent. To see rent, you got to pay rent.
You're gonna give up your rent.
That's ridiculous. I don't think they did that when they created the show.
Hamilton is coming here, and it's going to be what? I don't even know the price, but
it's much cheaper. I don't actually really want to say that because I'm kind of thinking about a package, because you get a package, you get tickets, and believe me, I think it's like a tenth of the price of what it is. But that's an amazing experience, one that I did not want to have. I was very angry when I heard about Hamilton at first, and $400. I was like, screw that. That's ridiculous, insulting to performers. And then a friend of mine won the lottery, and I went, and it's literally the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I saw it on Disney Plus, but
even on Disney Plus, you can tell, and they did a really good job. But I mean, I have to say, in terms of the Fringe for Edinburgh, there's 350 shows you can see right now online whenever this airs. You just go right to tickets.edfringe.com and pick whatever show you want. Oh, cool. You should be picking We Are Traffic, a rideshare adventure.
I recommend it. 2 thumbs up.
Absolutely. And buckle up.
Right, buckle up.
But it ends well.
Another quick question, because I don't want to spoil your show, but there's a portion of your show where you have a song by Coldplay, and I just want to make sure that Did you keep
Well,
that, or did you?
yes, we kept all that. It's a recording of the song, so it's not actually the whole song, and we are paying for the rights to that in case anybody's listening.
Okay.
But yes, those aspects are included, and
that's a great
as a
moment.
matter of fact, yeah. Oh, it's grown larger to now include all of this as well. And something that's very interesting is originally it's just me in a chair, and as we started to incorporate some slides in the background, it became clear because the goal is we're going to get a larger run out of this, and then it will become a TV series. But on stage, it looks like it's going to become like a 3/4 visual experience as well, because more and more the thing that's actually changed about the show is the visceral experience. It's more and more we're going to create that feeling of literally being back here, and I think it's just everything resonates from that experience because it reminds you of what it's like from your perspective as a passenger, but also now inside of our head as well too.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that, whatever comes next.
I'm looking forward to hearing your experience, especially now as a driver. It's totally different. Yeah,
it is. Well, I don't know. I run out of questions. Any questions for me? Any questions for the audience?
No, I'm really excited to do this again and to talk to you. And I, especially after going through this experience yourself, and all of us going through what we're still going through, because the truth is that we're only halfway through whatever we're going through. Things are like, oh, we're back outside and I can go have dinner, and it's not even close to normal yet. And there's a good part about that. It shouldn't be, because it wasn't normal before. It was not normal to step over people on my way to Starbucks. You know what I'm saying? I recognize the people, and you do too, the guy in 7-Eleven, the barista in Starbucks, the woman that's cleaning my apartment building, the people who are working, essential workers, the people in supermarkets who kept us with food for 1.5 years, the people who get into our car who have to go to work, all of those people in connection with everybody else, not instead of everybody else. So I'm hoping that this little by little breeds more connection, and fortunately I get to do the thing that I love, and also reach out with the message that I want, which is, it's just a feeling I wanted myself. I started this because I wanted to find out where my faith went in myself, and through getting in the car, thankfully I found it.
Yeah, and actually I'm noticing the signs again, which is it's one of the things that I like to write something about it, because every time I go out, like yesterday, I saw this sign, and it said, "We provide the supplies, except for the children."
Right.
No, it's like,
right.
Whoever thought of that. I mean, it's just crazy. That's stuff that I hear or read, or.
It is literally crazy, and with rideshare in particular, but tech companies in particular, folks who not work in tech don't realize that these are basically glorified video games. So people are running their companies like video games, and we're just dots on the screen. So the practices would shock and blow people's minds. Of like, people think that's not a job. You're not treated as an employee, which is actually probably the best thing to mention, is that Prop 22 in California, which is being fought, is literally just reinforcing that. It was built as a union busting technique. And as we're discovering around the world, if you don't have any unions, then there's no protection, and there's no protection or respect for anybody who's working. And that eventually catches up with you. So it's even more important for people to understand, like you said, all of the crazy things that you could read inside this app. You think, wow, that's insane. The idea that we're led to, pick up kids from school by themselves. Like, the app leads us to do that. And yet says,
by themselves.
Don't pick up any kids.
I had an 8-year-old. I had an 8-year-old once waiting to get in my car and by himself, and I'm like, "Where's your mom?
No.
Where's your parents?"
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They know. They're the ones, Victor. They're the ones that ordered the ride. They know. And the app even now has a button that says, "You can cancel this because there's no adults in the car." But only So those are, it's the crazy stuff. We think, oh, it's just the drivers are being so crazy. No, it's everybody. We're being crazy, and we have to monitor ourselves. So people figure out, oh yeah, unions are good.
Have you ever gotten those people that just want you to take something from point A to point B? Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it is. Technically, we're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be a person, but I confess that it is.
I enjoy those rides the most.
It's a very pleasant.
I can turn my music on and sing as loud as I want to.
Yes.
And they have no complaints.
Oh, that I'd like to see, actually. I have seen that, and I have held up the box to friends to say, this is my passenger, but only occasionally, because I would never do that.
But now I'm thinking of other, that could go wrong in many other ways, too.
Oh, 100%. I mean, your insurance covers everything. They will not cover that. It's the same with a minor. They will say, don't pick them up, yet they will send you to a minor, and when you pick him up, the people will be angry if you don't pick them up. But the truth is, if you're in an accident, the parents will be the first person to sue you.
Exactly.
And it's just, it's not because they're evil. It's because we had a structure of society based on regulation in business with expectations that were reasonable. And they've just erased them because they're like, that gets in the way. You know, and that's why voting on Prop 22 is so important, is because for me, you know, primarily it's about safety. This is all about safety. You know, if you have some kind of structure in place, it's like lights. If you decided to take away the traffic because they were getting in the way of traffic, you know, it's literally the same thing. You'd be like, oh yeah, I guess a bunch of cars are smashed together. Well, it's just part of the, you know, part of the cost perspective you have to take into account. Yeah. We are the things we have to take into account.
Right.
I know I proselytize. I don't plan on it, but it's just the way I look at it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your mind goes. I think that's actually pretty interesting to you know, to hear you talk again, because I mean, and we have so much time to think about things while we're driving too, right? It gives me inspiration too. Actually, just started doing it again, and it's inspiring. It's actually inspiring to start doing it for, you know, for the money, but also for the, you know, the perks that come with it.
I have to tell you, because you came in on the tail end, there's aspects of this that it was like this in the beginning. I mean, it was inspiring for both parties. That's why it was a sharing. You know, it was not a taxi cab.
Right.
And that's what I talk about, the intimacy. When someone's in your personal car, you automatically, by osmosis, care about their safety as any other intimate person in your life, because they're sitting right next to you.
Right.
And that breeds a different kind of intimacy that helps rebind the fabric of society. I think it's one of the reasons it was created. You know, all that stuff was created up in San Francisco, partially to inspire community. I mean, that's why Craigslist was created. Craig realized he saw the breakdown of society. So he created a message board where you could, you know, trade, buy, and sell anything you wanted to under one condition. You had to meet another person. So I'm happy to see that. Both companies, and you know this, have in place right now, because they needed drivers, so they had to actually pay. Like a lot of other businesses are realizing right now, oh gee, I guess nobody wants to be a serf anymore. Both rideshare companies now are paying at a certain level. They're incentivizing their drivers to pick up anybody, you know, and that's the way it should be. I mean, I think you probably realize this. If they just kept this structure in place, it would pretty much solve everything. You know, and it just apply some regulation. There's more than enough money for, you know, for drivers to make a decent living commensurate with anybody else, and which is important because they're out in the street. Like, you know, we're protecting people's lives.
Right. And we're actually kind of endangering our lives sometimes.
But anybody in a car is automatically doing that. So, but the thing is, if you make them work 14 hours just to make the same amount of money people make in 6 hours, they're not going to have enough to repair their car. They're not going to have enough to get insurance. they're not going to be awake enough to see the car that's coming into the side of them from another guy or a woman who's been working 14 hours. And look, I mean, these companies are the only companies where their insurance companies have canceled them because they've got tons of work coming in every day. But the insurance companies are like, I don't know. I don't think I really want to do this. I've never heard of an insurance company turning down work before. But it's because there isn't a structure in place, to protect folks. And that's why it's ultimately the main point for me. But I have to say, it's really nice for people to start looking each other in the eye and offering a little respect. You get to enjoy each other, That ain't too bad.
Hey, it's been great. We actually have 3 minutes left, so I have to cut it a little bit short now. But I want to say one thing. Happy belated birthday, by the way. I forgot this.
Thank you.
I just went into Facebook just to find your message, and I'm like, okay, now I see it. That's the only reason I go to Facebook now. It's like to see whose birthday I've missed.
It's older folks. That's older folks.
I do want to thank you, not only for encouraging me to to do Lyft and see how wonderful it is, but also for sharing your new updated show on Edinburgh Fringe, which is amazing. And I just wish you nothing but the best. And
thank you.
Any last words?
Yeah, I want to thank you very much. I think you've been really diligent with this podcast over the years and putting it all together. And I can't wait for it to explode on a larger scale as well, too. So we all carry each other.
Cool. Okay, I'll call you in a minute, but thank you once again, Jonathan.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Absolutely. You guys take care. Tickets.fringe.com. Cheers to you.
Oh yeah,
brother.
I'm gonna put all the links below. So if you're listening, it's just because how many days left? 5 days left.
There's only like 3-4 days left till the 30th.
Yeah.
So catch it now. Right. It's only an hour, and you might feel a little bit better about your fellow man.
Right. All right. Cool. All right, Jonathan.
Okay.
Peace.
I'll get on the road. Take care.
Right. You too. Bye.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
That's swell.
It's a low blog talk radio.